I came to Lebanon about 10 years ago. My husband brought me here. So kind of him. I remember how Lebanon seemed so special, so beautiful, warm weather, exotic fruits. It just felt like paradise. The realities came in a little bit later. My first words in Arabic were "Mafi kahraba." My mom thought it sounded very romantic. But the best part of coming to Lebanon was to see very warm, affectionate, caring people. Coming from United States, where we studied with my husband, where most conversations started and ended with, "How are you? I'm fine, thank you." Lebanon felt such a warm place. Everyone wanted to know about me. Everyone wanted to ask how I'm doing, how was my flight, did I like Lebanon, did I like Lebanese food, what I had for breakfast. Everyone cared. People wanted to drink coffee with me. I would be walking on the street and I'll hear, "Ta ashrabi ahwi, ta ashrabi ahwi." Later I learned not everyone really wanted to drink coffee with me, but that's okay. Only later I discovered that this interest in us, in people, can have a bit of shortcomings. I got pregnant shortly after getting married, and immediately all my neighbors turned to be doctors. Even the old gentleman in the canny on the corner of the street, seemed to know more about pregnancy, what I should be eating, which vitamins to take, where I should give birth, and of course how I should feed my future baby. I remember I was once in mother care, and a complete stranger approached me, and she said, "Oh, you're pregnant. Did you buy your bottles? Did you buy your sterilizer?" And I said, no, I don't need that, thank you. I'm going to breastfeed." And she said, "Inshallah." And this is not the first time I heard this expression, this reaction from people when I told them I want to breastfeed. So I asked my husband, "What does inshallah mean?" And he told me, "It's like God's willing, God helps you." And I thought, oh my God, I need divine power to be able to provide milk for my child? So I started asking people around, what's going on? And they told me, "Ma fi halib hal iyam." I was like, finished? Women ran out of it? What happened? And they told me, "And for sure you will not have it too, because bzazi ktir zgar." I'm like, okay, thank you. So I went and I did a bit of research, and I found out they were actually wrong. And the size and shape of breast doesn't matter for breastfeeding success. And physiologically, 97% of women around the world can provide enough milk for their twins, triplets, and higher multiples. So I figured I should be fine providing milk for one baby at a time. So I gave birth. I had my share of difficulties in breastfeeding. It wasn't easy. People didn't believe I can do it. But I remember I was sitting at the family table. My baby was turning 6 months. And I told them, "Look, you told me I cannot do it. But here we are. My baby is turning 6 months. I have not given a drop of formula to her. And she's thriving." And people told me, "Yee, that's because you're not Lebanese. Inti ajnabi mission hack." And I knew this is wrong and this is unfair, especially that soon enough I got my Lebanese citizenship and the milk didn't stop then. So I looked back at my experience and I thought hard, what helped me succeed? Number one was constantly reading and researching, asking questions, finding information from reliable sources. Very quickly, one will understand that online you have some sources that are not reliable for breastfeeding information. You don't want to go on the formula companies, baby food companies' sites to learn about breastfeeding. They're not going to give you correct information. What you want to do, you go to the websites of lactation consultants who are famous worldwide, like Dr. Jack Newman, Kelly Banyata. You go to the websites of breastfeeding organizations that are devoted to the subject, such as Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine, Leche League International, and others. So I read, and when people told me, breast milk and formula are the same, I didn't trust them. I went and I researched, and I found that formula is missing thousands of components. It can never imitate so many vital ingredients there. That formula has health risks, and it increases the risk of more than 50 illnesses for the child. When people told me, حليبك مثل ماي, ما فيه شيء, ليكي بنتك شو ضعيفة. I did not trust that. I went online and I researched and I read, and I found that breastfed babies are usually leaner than formula-fed babies, and this is a good thing. It helps the body develop better. That being overweight is not healthy and is not helpful for a child. When people told me your child is not sleeping at night, that's because your milk is empty and the child is not satisfied, I went and I researched, and I found that waking up often at night is very healthy for a newborn baby. And this not only supports mother's milk production, but it also protects the child from the sudden infant death syndrome. It can save baby's life. So it's not a good idea for a baby to sleep through the night as soon as possible, as people tell you. The second factor that helped me was my husband's support. Without him, I wouldn't have made it through. He was there for me all the time, at every step. And actually, he's here with us today too, at the end of the room with my little daughter. Fadi, I love you, and I'm so, so grateful to you for everything you've done. Because he believed in me, no matter what other people told me. When people came to me and were telling me that, حرام, بنتك جوعاني, راح تموت من الجوع. He was there to tell me, honey, don't worry. I know we can do it. I know your milk is good. I know this is good for our child, and she is lucky to be breastfed by you. And he was there for me to help me around the house and do the cleaning and cooking and all those things that mom in Lebanon is supposed to do right after birth. Mom in Lebanon is supposed to be a superwoman. She should give birth and immediately have the chocolate ready, souvenirs ready, the house arranged. She should have her hair done, makeup. She should be already slim, and baby should be smiling by the time visitors arrive. This is impossible. And these visitors, what's going on in Lebanon? People assume it's some kind of competition in Lebanon, as if they're trying to win a prize for being the first one to come and visit. Give a mother a break. She just gave birth. She needs a bit of time. So my husband was there to slow down the flow of visitors and to help with hosting them, because visitors in Lebanon, they come and stay. They don't leave. They show up at breakfast. They stay for dinner. So my husband was there to sit with them, entertain them, tell them stories about birth, so that I could go and spend time with my child, relax a little bit, maybe take a nap, breastfeed, and just not to be worried about all those things. Without my husband, I wouldn't have made it. The third factor for me was the confidence that exclusive breastfeeding with no formula is actually possible in nature. I grew up seeing cats breastfeed, dogs breastfeed, I knew lions can breastfeed, and humans can breastfeed. This is the divine power that was already given to us. And I had this deep inside me knowing that it is possible, so I kept on going. So when I analyzed and I came up with these three factors, I thought back what to do about this conception that only the foreigner can breastfeed. I wanted to help Lebanese women too. So first thing I did, I started approaching every pregnant woman I could see on the street. On the street, in the mall, at the candy shop. I would come up to her and say, I can see you're pregnant. Have you thought how you want to feed your child? Do you want to breastfeed? I can tell you how. That didn't go too well for most of my attempts. Maybe because I wasn't Lebanese, not sure. So I needed to find another way. And I went ahead and I created a first breastfeeding support group on Facebook called Breastfeeding in Lebanon. This was in 2011. Did people believe this was a good idea? No. Everyone told me, what are you doing? You're so naive. No one wants to know how to breastfeed. Women just pretend they want to breastfeed. No one's gonna ask you questions. No one's gonna need the information. Just forget it. And they were wrong. This group was created about 7 years ago, and now it has about 7,000 members. And it continues to grow. And people continue asking questions, sharing information and experiences, and helping each other. This group also gave rise to a number of other breastfeeding support groups on Facebook, such as Mama to Mama Beirut Breastfeeding Support that now has over 10,000 members, Gentle Attachment Parenting Group, and many others. It just kept spreading like waves. So yes, mothers want to know in Lebanon, independent of what nationality they have. This is a picture taken at one of the breastfeeding support events that were done in coordination with several organizations. Women Unite. And soon after me, you'll hear a speech from a president of a lovely organization called Lactica. And she will tell you more about their important work. When I was looking at my Breastfeeding in Lebanon Facebook group, I knew that online support, although it's wonderful, is not enough. I was looking for more. I knew mothers need face-to-face encounters. They need face-to-face support. My favorite resource to turn for information at all times has been till now is this book. It's called Womanly Art of Breastfeeding. It's also translated into French for anyone who is interested. In this book, I kept noticing the authors mentioning LLL support meetings, where mothers can attend, ask questions, get support, absolutely free of charge. And that sounded like exact thing what we needed in Lebanon. So I contacted LLL, and by the way, LLL stands for La Leche League International. La Leche means milk in Spanish. So it's the Milk League. So La Leche League is referred to as the oldest, most influential and reputable organization on breastfeeding support around the world. It was established about 60 years ago in 1956 in the United States, and now it has its presence in more than 60 countries. LLL's mission is to help mothers worldwide to breastfeed through mother-to-mother support, encouragement, information, and education. LLL also reinforces the idea that breastfeeding is more than a way of feeding. It's a way of connecting with our child, communicating, understanding our baby. It's a way of being a parent to our child. So when I contacted LLL to ask about LLL in Lebanon, they told me that unfortunately there isn't anyone yet. In other country neighbors, already there was LLL representation. Some countries nearby had few leaders, others had 100, but Lebanon had no one. So after 1 year training, where I had to travel twice to Turkey and Ukraine to meet other leaders face to face, to see them how they conduct meetings, learn from their experience, and day-to-day online training I have accomplished. In 2012, I was accredited as the very first LLL leader in Lebanon. Since that time, the LLL Lebanon history started. And last year, we celebrated 5 years of LLL Lebanon. This photo was taken exactly at that beautiful event. Currently, we have 4 active leaders, and we conduct 2 monthly meetings in 2 different locations in Lebanon, in Jeladib and in Zoo. The leader who is conducting the meetings in Jeladib is right here with us too. Her name is Sarah. She's standing at the door. Sarah, my colleague, respect to you. Another leader is standing next to her who recently came to Lebanon, Claire. She was accredited in LLL France, and she soon hopefully will be starting meetings as well. Claire, thank you for joining Lebanese team. At the LLL meetings, mothers are welcome to come with their babies, children, fathers, husbands, family members such as grandmothers, relatives, sisters, nieces, and sometimes we have students and medical professionals join too. Everyone is welcome. At these meetings, there is no judgment, no criticism, there is no lecturing. At this meeting, mothers share what they learn about breastfeeding through their experience and through research, what worked for them and what not. They support each other and they share experiences. Very often at these meetings, a mother would laugh, telling us about misconceptions she is hearing about breastfeeding around her. But many times, a mother would cry, saying how she is about to break down under pressure of society that she is receiving to stop breastfeeding and introduce formula. Observing mothers at LLL meetings, as well as what they're sharing on Breastfeeding in Lebanon Facebook group, is showing how difficult journeys in breastfeeding are these days. mothers face multiple obstacles. These are some of them that are easy to identify. Number one, wrong expectations. No one tells mothers what to expect in breastfeeding, how difficult. We can continue romantic state. Anyone has candles, a bit of the flashlights? I'll try to speak up louder. No one is telling mothers what to expect, how difficult breastfeeding journeys may be, what to prepare, what to be careful with, what to try to avoid to prevent difficulties. Society tells mothers it's easy to breastfeed, but it comes down to whether you have milk or not. You have it, you breastfeed. You don't have it, well, too bad. This is not like that. At the last LLL meeting, I asked mothers to share what did they fear would be the problem in breastfeeding when they were pregnant, and whether it turned out to be so. And every single mom in that meeting said that what she thought would be a problem in breastfeeding actually wasn't. And mom faced other challenges, and she was not prepared for that. Number two obstacle in Lebanon is hospital interventions that promote formula. Mothers share with tears in their eyes how they would give birth and the baby is taken away swiftly from them. No skin to skin, no early initiation, despite what WHO recommends and the Ministry of Public Health too. And sometimes mother will not see her baby for hours or even till the next day. Baby is given formula at that time, pacifier, and when baby is brought back, of course, there will be challenges in breastfeeding because baby is now confused. And baby expects easy flow of milk that was coming from a bottle, expects easy taste and shape of the bottle nipple in his mouth, not a soft texture of mother's breast. And of course expects bigger amounts of milk that were coming from that bottle and not what mom naturally and normally has right after birth, small amounts of early milk colostrum. And the problems start before breastfeeding journey even started. Mothers shared how they would request sometimes that formula is not given to their child, and yet it still may happen behind their backs. When the child is taken away for a diaper change or for a shower, baby would be returned already filled with formula. Even parents asked not to feed the child. Mothers shared how sometimes nurses would come in and tell them, haram if you want to breastfeed only. Ati bibroni, look at your child. Haram, baby is crying. And if mom is insisting that she wants to breastfeed, some nurses say, okay, let me check. And they roll up their sleeves and they come to the mother and they squeeze the breast of the mother. And of course, milk is not going to come out like this. It's not meant to drip down when someone squeezes the breast. And the nurse would say, huh? I told you so. ما في شيء. ما عم يطلع حليب من صدرك. What is mom left to do? She trusts medical professionals. Of course she does. Another difficulty we have in Lebanon is no family support. It seems in Lebanon, many family members take it as their life mission to stop the mother from breastfeeding. Day and night, they keep on telling the mother, stop breastfeeding. It's not worth it. It's not useful. Look at us, we all grew up on formula and we are fine. Why are you still breastfeeding? And they keep on talking and talking and talking. What about that obsession we have in Lebanon on feeding? People want to feed, feed, feed. They want the babies to grow overweight because they think when babies are overweight or milyanin, they're healthy. They say smallah when they see an overweight child. It's quite difficult to have an overweight child on breastfeeding because breast milk protects the babies from obesity. So they keep on insisting that formula should be given just to help the child, just a little bit at night, just a little bit during the day so the baby can grow bigger and be healthier. They may say, شو الله جبرك خليه يشبع عايتي ببروني haram. How would mom feel? Mom cares for the baby. She loves the child. Does she want to hurt the baby? Of course not. So she starts feeling guilty as if she is hurting her baby by exclusive breastfeeding. And moms break into that pressure. And of course, everything gets blamed on breastfeeding in Lebanon. If mom is breastfeeding, she's going to carry on her shoulders the blames of everything. If your baby is not sleeping through the night, That's because her milk is not satisfying. If the baby seems to be not as fat as other children, that's because she is a skinny mom herself. So her milk is fat-free, literally. If baby is crying in the evening, that must be because the mom breastfed when she was sad, and she passed her sadness through the milk to the baby. And God forbids, if mom wants to breastfeed when she's crying, her milk becomes toxic, it becomes poisonous. And I wonder, what's the emotional state of the cows at factories? Because no one seems to be concerned about formula that's made out of that milk and given to the babies. Yet the mother has to be responsible for everything if she's breastfeeding. If she didn't prepare the family dinner, that's because she's too busy breastfeeding. If your house is not arranged, that's because she's breastfeeding on demand. She should give a bottle and focus more on the household. If she has tension in the relationship with her husband, that's because her husband feels lonely when she is breastfeeding. Everything gets blamed on breastfeeding. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if very soon people told us that this month's traffic in Lebanon is because Lebanese University held a conference on breastfeeding. Misconceptions are all around, including from medical professionals. Listen up to what mothers are hearing. Breasts will sag down. They will become flat and unattractive if mom breastfeeds. Well, I breastfed for over 7 years, my 3 kids. My breasts are still here. They didn't go down there. Am I exception from the natural laws? I don't think so. What makes breasts go down is the pregnancies, the smoking, the age of the mother, and of course, the gravity. Not breastfeeding. Moms cannot breastfeed if they need medications. So literally, mothers are not allowed to get sick. If you nurse your son, he will have sexual addictions towards you and your breasts. Wow. Mothers who have cesarean births or preterm babies cannot breastfeed. We were just listening to the wonderful presentation of Dr. Bahia explaining that these babies who are born prematurely, low birth weight, or through cesarean births, they need breastfeeding more than other children because they have a higher rate of becoming sick or even dying in the early months after birth. Other misconceptions: your milk will be fat-free if you're a skinny mom. Milk turns sour if it stays for several hours in the breasts. Milk turns into water, sharp at 6 months. What a miracle, right? One day it's filled with nutrients and vitamins. At 6 months, it just becomes water. And we hear people say it, sometimes even medical professionals. And of course, we have short maternity leaves. The question was raised today. It's wonderful we progressed to 70 days compared to the 40 days of maternity leave, but mothers need more. They're hoping that one day Lebanon can have maybe 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, if not 2 years like in France, Ukraine, or Qatar. At least 6 months to establish exclusive breastfeeding, to build up confidence, to be able to continue when they go back to work. So thinking about these main obstacles and other things that mothers say, I was wondering, what do mothers think is the biggest challenge in Lebanon? So last week on Breastfeeding in Lebanon Facebook group, I asked a question. What destroys breastfeeding journeys in Lebanon? And mothers answered. We received more than 240 individual responses. And the results were not only surprising, they were shocking. Number one challenge mentioned by more than 70% of mothers who answered was uneducated people. Think about that. Ignorance about breastfeeding, they said. Ignorant friends, siblings, and everyone around nagging and thinking they know. Society's complete ignorance leading to useless opinions that don't encourage breastfeeding. The fact that it's everybody's business and everyone has an opinion and they will beat your head over and over with it whether you asked for it or not. What do mothers hear? Well, mom takes her baby to the nursery, and at the nursery they tell her, your son is spoiled. He doesn't want to stay 3-4 hours after feeding. He wants to be carried and held around. It's all because you're breastfeeding. Mom goes to the doctor and the doctor tells her, well, if you get sick, you pass infection through your milk, so you need to stop breastfeeding. And anyways, after 3 months, breastfeeding is useless. Another mom shared her sister approached her and said, Leche, ibn Jiran a formula. And smalla ad ibnik amartan. Another shared that a friend came to her and said, كيف إلك خالي أولو؟ أنا الحمد لله ما رضعت. شو بدي من بخل وجع القلب. Wow, what a support we get. No wonder that one mom said, oh my God, when I delivered, after 10 days exactly, I took the plane and ran away from Lebanon because of breastfeeding. I hate uneducated people there. She left the country. Lebanon, you're losing citizens because of this. Misconceptions are everywhere. It starts with the closest circle around mom, and then it goes on to hospital staff, doctors, nurses, friends, neighbors, strangers on the street. The next most often obstacle named by mothers was unfriendly work conditions. Yes, we do have a short maternity leave, but one mom wisely noticed, but some other countries have lower, shorter maternity leaves, and yet the rates are higher in breastfeeding. In Lebanon, it's not only a short maternity leave, but also unfriendly environments. Moms are often asked to work overtime instead of going home to their babies. Moms are not given a place to pump their milk. They're not given even breaks for pumping. One mom shared that she had to pretend she goes to smoke every couple hours so she could pump the milk for her baby. Smoking breaks were allowed, but pumping not, and she never smoked. And sometimes we have complete open opposition given at the workplace to mothers. One mom shared that her work colleagues told her she's not allowed to use the common sink to wash her pump parts because she will contaminate the area with her bacteria and her milk. Breast milk kills bacteria upon contact. If anything, that mom was giving them a favor and cleaning up the space a little bit. Yet she received pressure from them. And some people take it to the next degree. They keep on harassing mothers on a daily basis. It's common for some work colleague to come to a pumping mom and say, Haram, لايكي انت شو صرتي تعباني وشعراتك ما حلوة كمان أبدا. لشو هالعذاب خلص بقى. How would mom continue pumping every day facing that pressure? And some work colleagues start making fun of mom, calling her a cow when she needs to pump, and whenever she's going to pump, they'll start making the moo sounds. And we are talking here about mature grown-ups, and they're bullying and harassing breastfeeding mothers. The third reason named by mothers, surprisingly, was inability to breastfeed in public. We have very few special, comfortable places for mothers to breastfeed in malls, in restaurants, in public places, at airports. So mom is obliged either to breastfeed in public or go to the bathroom. Who wants to eat in the bathroom? Would you like to have a burger in the bathroom? Would you like to have your meal in the bathroom? Probably not. So how would the mom feed her child in a public bathroom? And if she sits and breastfeeds in public, well, you remember the warm, affectionate, caring nature of all Lebanese people? They feel that they need to communicate with everyone they see. So when mom sits and breastfeeds in public, she gotta have some stranger pass by and say, Badik atirday? Ibnik shaklu sar kbir. Halas. How would mom continue where strangers are commenting on her breastfeeding? Sometimes she receives more hostile responses. One mom shared she was in a restaurant and there were two women sitting next to her. So when mom wanted to breastfeed, they started talking loudly, saying, Yee, لاكي شو هي بتعمل ولو عيب عرفتنا. Really? Mom is nursing her child, giving the most natural and beautiful way of feeding to that baby. So what is mom left to do? Stay a prisoner at home with her child, or go out and give a bottle to a baby? And giving a bottle would start decreasing her milk production and starting the end to her breastfeeding journey. The fourth most common reason mentioned was the lack of husband support. Okay, it's not the main one that mothers believe destroys breastfeeding journeys in Lebanon, but it could be saving breastfeeding journeys. Fathers have a huge role in breastfeeding, and there are numerous studies showing that if the father was knowledgeable about breastfeeding, if he supported his wife, the wife will be so much more likely to succeed despite any challenges. Gentlemen in the audience, please learn about breastfeeding. Please support your future wives or current wives. Please give them the encouragement they really, really need. So then I asked mothers, could you please share what would you like to ask future health professionals to do so they could support breastfeeding? And they answered, number one, educate yourself about breastfeeding matter. Read, read, and read again. Question everything you know about breastfeeding. Research. Rely on reliable sources. Take time to attend at least one special breastfeeding course. Educate yourself before giving any advice at all. Because there is no harm in being quiet, not saying anything, or saying, I don't know. But there is a lot of damage that we can do when we give wrong information to mothers. They asked, please tell mothers how to get support. Tell them about breastfeeding support groups. Tell them about Leche League meetings, about Lactica social events. Tell them about the breastfeeding professionals who can give face-to-face help in Lebanon. Put an A4 list of contacts where mothers can refer to get help in breastfeeding. And work with ethics. Don't get your knowledge from pharmaceutical companies or baby food companies. Reject the incentives that are given to you to cooperate with them. Don't sign contracts with them. Don't make deals to promote their products. Don't give samples. Not only it's against the law in Lebanon, which very soon you're going to hear about more, but it's also extremely unethical, and it undermines breastfeeding journeys of parents in Lebanon. Do only what's in the highest and greatest good for mothers and babies whenever you communicate to anyone. And most importantly, be kind to that breastfeeding mom you meet. If it is your relative or friend, sit down next to her. Don't say anything. Comfort her, hug her, smile at her, tell her she's doing an amazing job. Tell her it's beautiful what she is doing. And if it is a stranger you meet on the street, give her a smile. Give her an encouraging look. Nothing else. It sounds so little. And yet, this mom will forever remember the look, the smile you gave her. Because very well, it may be the only time where a stranger gave her a positive look. Thank you very much.